Welcome to the A&I podcast. Today we have a very special guest who needs no introduction. We have Mrs. Supraja Rao. Hi ma'am, how are you?
Hi Amit.
Ma'am, it's a fanboy moment where we have heard of your work, we have seen a lot of your work, and it's something to look upon. We want to know how his journey been. You started somewhere in the 1990, right? And it's been good 34 years now. So how has your journey been, and was this something that you always wanted to do?
I think my journey has been beautiful. I mean, the fact that I can sit for a podcast and you can say you have a fanboy moment, I'm definitely blessed and I must have done something right to have anybody say that, right? I mean, if someone says that to you later, when you look up to someone, you don't realize that when they started, they also started somewhere. And especially if you're not a second generation and you've not inherited a practice or anything, you started from a scratch. You don't know where this will take you.
Right.
While you dream big, you have no idea where it can take you. So I think my journey has been very interesting, and yeah, we'll talk more.
So, ma'am, back then in 1990 when you started, so was this industry so friendly and was so welcoming a women architect coming in? Because this is even today considered to be a male dominant industry.
It's very interesting. I never considered myself inferior in any way because of my gender. And I didn't really think I took my gender to work. You know what I mean? Like, I worked as an interior designer. I didn't work as a women interior designer. Very few professions, the gender plays an important role. Like, I remember when growing up, there was like, you would say, I'm going to a lady doctor. You don't hear that these days.
Yes.
You specifically heard the attachment of a profession to a male or a female back in the day. But fortunately, I think architecture design, I don't think people will say that, oh, I'm looking for an architect, I'm looking for a women architect, or I'm looking for a male architect. You just say, I'm looking for an architect who does this genre of work, who has the experience, has the expertise.
Right.
So I think, from day one, I always followed that route. Till people question me, I didn't realize that, oh, am I supposed to take my gender to work?
Wow. But then the acceptance has come today. It was not back then, when you started, the early 90s.
Like I said, this profession didn't need a specialization what a man could bring to the table.
Wow. Okay. So how was it like getting into a design field back in the 90s where there were no Instagram, no much.
Well, Instagram wasn't there till 5 years ago, so you all
Yeah.
started your careers pre-Instagram.
Yeah.
I started my career pre-internet.
Exactly.
So that's a huge difference. Like what AI is doing now, internet made that change. I started my career on drafting boards and manual drawing. So to me, I think those are game changers. When we started AutoCAD and say, oh my God, you can just make some corrections and save the old drawing and still do. Because when you did drawings on tracing, especially if you did with an ink pen, you just had to make another drawing all over again.
Right.
If it was in pencil, you could still correct it.
True.
AutoCAD was a game changer. Internet was a game changer. I mean, internet also, I remember when email came, communicating, it was fax.
True.
And I have seen that much change, but after when I started to this change, the timing was very less. It was all in the first 5, 7, 8 years, all this happened.
Right.
So it's not like I had worked for 20 years to see this change.
True.
Like I know my, much more senior architects saw that change 20 years after their practice. I saw all this in the first, 91 I started. Before we hit 2000, all this was mainstream, So in the first few years itself, all these changed.
But how was it for you to keep accepting and keep adapting and keep yourself upgrading with whatever is coming your way?
That is the story for anybody. You guys are accepting to AI, and so am I. We're using ChatGPT, we are doing rendering, and believe you me, I'm the oldest in my office, and I'm the one who decides that these should be implemented. This in my office didn't come for a 20-year-old saying, let's use AI rendering. One fine day I'm saying, why aren't we using AI, guys? And so I think when you're an entrepreneur, and if you have the kind of bent of mind that you want to constantly adapt, and that's the only way you stay relevant. The fact that I'm still
True.
practicing after 34 years, and I think I'm going to do for another decade, is because I intend to stay relevant. If you don't change with times, you're going to be off the radar.
Definitely. Now, again, one question that always strikes me is the industry. When you talk about architecture and all, it's related to construction, and the image that you have in front of you when you think of it is male working, the workers on the side, and there's a lot of male thing happening around this industry. So when you thought of picking up this industry, so was your family and how did they accept it, or no, were they okay with it, and how?
So there is a slight bit of a story I can tell you on this. So when I was in high school, to my luck, when I went to 11th, my brother went to IIT. So the principal called me to his cabin when I went to my 11th standard, because my brother had finished 12th and joined IIT, saying, "Your brother has done very well. We have high expectations from you." And I was like, don't even go there. I have no academic interest. I was from my childhood very interested in creative, artistic. I would work with my nimble fingers. I have stitched my own clothes, done tie and dye, made my own buttons, done embroidery, and I still have clothes which I did during my college days, which I have them. I stitched till I got married.
Wow.
After that, my career, and it's just been busy. So, because of my creative and artistic interest, I was not choosing academics, so there was more pressure of doing something more academic, like studying in engineering, studying. When you have a 2 year gap between an older sibling and he goes to these best institutes in the country, which money can't buy you a seat. He went to IIM, to my luck.
Wow.
So there was pressure was that I had to study,
Uh-huh.
and I was not interested. And there were also this rule that you're not going anywhere, unlike my brother. So I had to
Okay.
choose here, and there was no NIT. I didn't have choices. So in
Right.
design, I couldn't pursue higher. I mean, like great education, and I didn't understand architecture when I finished my high school. So I didn't really pay attention to writing the exam well, and I didn't get through the, I think, aptitude test. You need to train for a few months to learn
True.
this drawing,
Yes.
still life, and all. I did, and then I did my BSc Home Science, and I thought I will. My love for textiles was very, very high, and I thought I would do a business in textiles, which would be weaving fabric. I had named the business in my head when I was in college, but life had other plans, and I got into design. I had actually got furniture made during my college days and sold to my lecturers.
Wow.
And I polished myself. I learned like from one of my neighbors. They had a little furniture shop, so I different numbers for sandpaper and bought French polish and scraped. I used to got blisters in my hand. So I still have pieces of furniture in my house, in my mom's house, which is actually I got it made. मैंने अपने हाथ से paper मारा है और polish किया है.
Wow.
I used to go to General Bazaar, get the nawar, I have a stool with nawar. Yeah, two
Beautiful.
stools.
Nice. So that comparison that you speak about, that usually done, I mean, when they're siblings and when there's a male and a female sibling, वो comparison और थोड़ा बढ़ जाता है. So did that ever come your way, or did that ever pull you down? That
No way. If at all, it only added to my, my confidence. Because when my brother was doing all this, and I was like, Supraja, you've got great genes. You can do something with yourself in life. So I think that gave me a reassurance that because gene pool is important, right?
Yes.
And that just gave me the confidence. Though I was not interested in academically. My mom tried really hard. Like she even said after my college, why don't you do an MBA in OU? Like that was like, I was like, no, if I do, I'll do an IM, but I'm not interested. So those were my answers.
Wow, nice. Ma'am, so for the last 34 years, the industry has been changing, right? So what's one major change that you see in this industry happening over these years?
So I think the biggest change I have seen and I feel is the acceptance to newer design materials and a lifestyle in Hyderabad. Generally, if you see, the south of India has always been simpler and a bit of a shy on their lifestyle.
Right.
In spite of the wealth you have, the education you have, the travel exposure, people led a simpler life. It was a choice. It was a thing of the south. That has changed drastically, and that affects design, lifestyle, luxury, all that.
Wow. So, ma'am, so when you started your career, so what was the first project that you worked on? And it's always said, पहला project और पहला काम पहला
बहुत
प्यार होता
special,
है,
yes.
बहुत special होता
Yeah,
है,
yeah.
right? So if you can just walk us through your first project.
So my first project was an 8x8 exhibition booth, which I got a call for one day after I turned 21. where I was thinking, what should I do with my life? Because I did a part-time job for about 4.5 months. I was doing a part-time, no, sorry, I've done a full-time job for 4.5 months, and then I had doing a part-time design course. I turned 21, I get a call, and had no portfolio, nothing. They called me. I'm guessing I presented some design. Then they said they'll give me a job. Then they said they'll give me a design and build. And I said yes to a design and build at 21. And very stringent timelines, like truly. And I said yes because I had built furniture during my college days, so I had the confidence. But I'm 21 years old. In less than 3 weeks, I have to do a design and build. Then they say they'll pay me advance, but on the name of a company. So I had to open a bank account, and I had one Japanese design magazine for some reason at home, and there was a showroom which had a name Design House. I said Design House it is. I opened my bank account. They gave me an advance check. I did, and I did that booth like a installation even back then. It was a tile company from Tirupati. So instead of putting, what would you think? You would think back in the day, put all tiles on the wall. I had put wallpaper on the walls. I had just done an 8x8 flooring. I had created a platform which was about 2 feet deep and maybe 2.5 feet high. I had done black columns, and I'd got brass sheet cutouts in them. And each of those columns, I had put a tile at an angle. So you could see maybe just 6, 8 tiles. And then I had made 2 frames on either side of the wall, which one was a series of bathroom tiles and one broken tiles, a mural. And I think I gave it some tagline also. So while I was doing it, the neighbors came and asked me, "Is it a wallpaper booth?" And I said yes.
Wow.
And in 1991, April 1st was the inaugural. So March 9th, I get a call. April 1st, I had to deliver. So in those 3 weeks, all this happened. And yeah, it's been life-changing to see the least.
Beautiful. Ever had any kind of family pressure in terms of your career choices as to what you should become?
I think from a very young age, I have been fairly clear and fairly determined. So I don't think I fall for pressure. So means I don't feel it because I don't allow it to get to me. Like you can say whatever you want to me, but I'm not going to fall for the pressure.
बट वो एक होता है ना, मतलब when the girl child is studying or doing something, तो बोलते हैं ठीक है हॉबी के लिए कर रहे हैं, सीरियस करियर थोड़ी होगा. तो was it even back?
Maybe people said and I didn't hear it. No, genuinely. I genuinely, because I made up my mind what I want to do. And I think from a young age, I knew I would do something. कुछ तो करूँगी पता था, क्या करूँगी नहीं पता था. फिर डिज़ाइन जब हुआ पता था ये करूँगी. But then also, like, I remember in my 20s, if I look back, in my head, like वो vision board ऐसे बोलते हैं ना, head में सोच रखा था that, Hyderabad is a smaller city. That I started sourcing in Delhi, Bombay by mid-90s. I was very pro by it. And then I did a bit of Southeast Asia. We used to source from Thailand, Singapore, go for the fairs, TIFF, showcase, all the fairs then. And then Europe. So I literally kind of in my head done this chartered plan, ki this is how I will grow, and I got very lucky. I did projects overseas also. But I think dream karna zaruri hai. Actually, I say this for women, and I've spoken once in a old city school college, and I said, घूंघट और burqa can't prevent you from dreaming.
Wow, beautiful. I 100% agree. And जो आपने एक जो चीज़ बोला कि शायद लोग बोल रहे थे आपने सुना ही नहीं, तो at times it's good to be deaf to those comments.
I still choose, for a lot of things in life, I choose not to listen. It's a waste of time and energy.
I cannot agree more to that. कभी आपको ये लगा कि जब आप काम आपने शुरू किया, जब आप काम कर रहे थे, कभी ऐसा लगा कि प्रॉब्ली शायद नहीं है, मतलब गिविंग अप वाला सिचुएशन कि नहीं हो रहा है, या फिर
So there's a line I read in my high school. Success is one step beyond quitting. So every time you want to quit, you think you're at the point, you tell yourself one more step. वो one more करके आप 10 step चला लोगे, और 10 step के बाद things change. 10 भी नहीं, 4-5 के बाद भी change होता है. But that's when that quitting point is very pivotal to not allow you to give up.
100%. So ma'am, how has your life changed? Let's say ये आपका before marriage, where probably you had to, if not fight, but at least work from one perspective or one, let's say आपके घर वाले थे, उन्हें समझाना था, वहीं तक था. Post marriage, how did things change for you? Was it still smooth?
So I got married the same year in July. March, it's April 1st started. So there was a very little time difference, and I'd met my husband through work, and he's an extremely progressive and what should I say? He's my biggest cheerleader. So I mean, प्रॉब्लम तो कुछ कभी था ही नहीं, उल्टा सपोर्ट एंड जो पुश जो मिलता है कि होता है ना, जी ले अपनी जिंदगी सिमरन, लाइक इट्स लाइक दैट विद मी.
Wow. I mean, it's so inspiring
Yeah,
to
in
listen
fact,
to
there are
this.
times even now, like I'll get ready and I'll be going for a party, and he'll say, "Enjoy yourself. No, don't rush and come back." And I'm like, "I'm just going for an hour." No, no, don't rush. Enjoy yourself. Instead, I'm like, I have to get up and go to work the next day. But he's like that. And
It's
it's
such
very
a
important that men don't compare themselves with their wife. You know.
true.
And I think my husband's one of those fantastic
Wow.
men.
So 34 years of marriage and 34 years of career. So I cannot probably give a better example of a successful life in that case.
God's been really kind, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people run behind a successful career, but they forget to live and make that balance. But
Work is not life, work is a part of life.
true, true,
And
true.
I keep encouraging people, while I have led an extremely busy schedule and it gave me a lot of high, but I don't recommend to everybody to run and work so much. That's not my advice.
So how was your work life like after probably after having kids? How did you manage?
Just as busy. I don't know how I manage, but I'll tell you one thing about me is, one, I can multitask a lot, Amit. I can literally, like, while I'm sitting and talking to you here, in my head I'm making my other plans. So by the time I get out, I will leave voice notes. I multitask, I move very fast, I take decisions very quickly. I'm blessed with the kind of memory I have, whether it's photographic memory, the stuff I remember. Because I move very fast, जो लोग 3 दिन में कर लेते मैं 2 दिन में कर लेती हूँ. So I move very fast. That's why you must be seeing me through Instagram. In fact, people actually
Yes.
ask me, how do you do so much? I move it. But how do you physically be there everywhere in so many places?
True.
So I don't know. I just kind of make and I see through. I don't. I make it all happen. And
But so many things. I mean, you have a family to take care. I mean, there's a husband, you have kids, you have office to take care. Then you have sites going on. You have
And I run an art
exhibition.
gallery.
You run an art gallery. How do you manage everything?
like I said, I think one of the things, I move very fast. I take very quick decisions. I don't regret. I mean, if I make mistakes, I learn from it. I'm open to making mistakes. I don't try to get it perfect at every decision of mine.
Probably one suggestion that you want to give it to the audience out there who probably find difficulty in finding time.
So, one, you should live in abundance. If you choose to live in abundance, you'll have it all. If you choose to live in shortage, you'll never. कुछ भी है आपको नहीं दिखेगा. आप shortage में बैठे रहेंगे. Half glass full, half glass empty.
Perception.
It's just choice. So I believe I live in abundance. I believe I have everything.
So now 30.
I don't sit and complain about anything. I'm very optimistic about everything.
I mean, so did motherhood or marriage, any of these things impact your decision of your career path or impact?
So motherhood, not really in the early days. I really juggled a lot and managed. Yeah, I did go through a very long patch of feeling guilty as a mom, because when you leave your child and you work, you travel, you do, in your head, you know that you want to get home, So if I had a 3 दिन का travel, I would cut it in 2 days. अगर 2 दिन का, try and do a day trip, just like come back as much. Like I did a lot of day trips when I was raising my daughter. Also, the whole market was different. The amount of work you could do was different. Work-life balance definitely in the 90s, 2000 was better than there was no social media at all. So you had a life. I really celebrated my daughter's birthdays to the best of my ability. Very unique. Not 1 year have we given a regular chocolate in her birthday school. Never. Not even once. Every year it was something creative. Her birthdays have been creative. So that way made my daughter travel, as a family, as mom and daughter holidays. So like she was at a double-digit age almost. And when I traveled to Delhi, Bombay during her summer holidays, the Shera holidays, or the simple rule was she can come and join me, but then she had to fly alone. That was the rule, So I would work for 2 days and then stay back 2 days to spend the weekend with her. So that way I made sure I kind of packed in a lot for her. And you have to, like a child comes back home, throws the bag and tells things to mom, right? I set up some kind of a rule like that. That my daughter would come home, throw the bag, go straight to the phone, pick up the phone, landline days, literally pick up the phone and call mama and speak. So my secretary had this rule: no matter what meeting I am, if my daughter call comes in, she has to give me. And all the clients who worked with me then knew I will take my daughter. I was like, my daughter wants to say something in this 5 minutes. Ki, Mama, this happened in school, this happened. ये बुआ टीचर ने ये बोला, फ्रेंड ने ये बोला. वो दिन भर बच्चे ने रखा है कि बोलना है. That can't wait another 3 hours. And बच्चा is not going to talk to you for 45 minutes. We'll talk 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
Right.
And I am as dedicated to my work if I've taken the 3 minute break. It's not going to affect. But as my daughter started growing up, and then she would, and then I'd say, is there anything important? And if she said, otherwise I'll talk, let's talk in the evening. Because when she grew to an age where she knew that, that mom's working and mom has a career, and these are things we can talk in the evening. So I kind of had to make changes in my life, and I did. And I think, abhi now it is still more cool to be a mama who's working and take your child. I took my daughter to work on Saturdays with me. So I implemented all these things. I said, why will I be ashamed? I don't have to shy away from the fact that I'm a mother. In fact, the fact that if I'm a wonderful mother, I have to be given credit for that. It goes to my advantage, not to my disadvantage.
100%. 100%.
And I remember there was I got very lucky very early on. So lots of newspaper articles would have, my line or quote. And there was an article on birthday parties. And there's an article in that birthday party article also, there's an interview on how birthday parties are done. And I talked about my daughter's birthday. So I have lots of newspaper. Our daughter used to swim, and, I made sure she did a lot of hobbies. And, I think it was more during her high school to college. That's the time I said I need to be more for her. And I took lesser work, especially exactly in the 10th, where I dropped her every single day to her board exam, came back to office literally for 2 hours, went back, picked her up, drove her home, had lunch with her, then come back to work. So for a month plus, I did that because I thought it was very important again to be there for her when she just came out of an exam. Sometimes you're upset, sometimes you're happy. But I didn't know the drive of picking her up.
Wow.
So I've kind of taken care at every, she got married last year and I took a month off and I did, again, every detail. And it gives me a lot of satisfaction.
True. I cannot agree more to this because a lot of times what happens, you either are busy, you do one thing, you get so passionate or, you're so busy working that you probably forget the other aspect of life. And that is probably what something creates the trouble. But the way beautifully you've managed it, prioritizing things with time, as you just said, you're starting less work when you felt that that she needed more time during her exams. So probably that is something which a lot of people
or just tell people that you're not available for a month or you're available less for a month, and you give heads up and saying, look, I want to finish this because then these many weeks I'll be caught up. Like exactly what you travel. So I think when you tell people and you finish your work, everybody lets you be. You give heads up to people, right? You don't show one day before, you don't, or middle of it you don't say, I can't talk to you. It doesn't work like that. It's a commitment you have with your client, your work, with your project. It's about planning. I think I'm pretty decent with my time management, and I think that's how I managed to do so much.
let's say when you're trying to balance out a lot of things, right? You always tend to miss on something that's as human beings, we're not we don't have superpowers. We obviously tend to miss things. So I ever felt guilty of missing out on either work or personal life.
Not guilty, but then you have to prioritize. Like I think the one of the only thing I can say I have missed is socializing, hanging out with extended family and friends, attending all, from weddings to all that. I would go for lesser number of events, go late, shop for a little time, leave. I, for the longest time, never went for any day events. It's not. So you have to trade off. So
But
that's
is it easily acceptable outside when you cut off from the family and you're more?
No, not cut off. You do
Go to-
lesser.
Yeah, do lesser.
So I always say you have to train people around you. So people around you get trained. Ki, bhai, you're going to see her less. She's going to be quick, right? People get used to it. You have to train anybody, and everybody gets trained around you. And with the immediate people, all that is very. But the beauty is that when I started getting well known, everybody was proud of me. So I think I made up for my absence.
Awesome. Yeah. Now coming to a professional journey, so you have seen the entire industry changing. I mean, 34
Oh,
years
yes.
is three
Huge.
plus 3.5 decades, almost a
Yes.
3.5 decades. So what do you see? What one major misconception that people had back then has changed about this industry now?
So it's not just this industry, right? The country's changed, the world has changed. And because the change is slowly, right? It's not exponential from 1 year to over 3 decades. So when any change happens slowly, you don't realize what you change with it. Like even pandemic was like one stuck event which happened, right? But otherwise most events are not stuck. They just
Right.
keep happening. So you kind of evolve with it. So, but yeah, when you look back 30 years, you can see the change. But I don't feel the change like that because we've gone to this small shift, small, which led to this. Um, but what would I say? The major thing was I think the industry was a much smaller industry in terms of what you materials you got, the scale at which people built, the level of finishing, the amount of money people spent. Everything is very, very different. Everything's the increase is over a period is monumental, it's exponential. How's the sizes changed?
True.
Yeah.
I cannot. So, something that you feel, I mean, in the last, when you look back at your journey, right? Few moments that you cherish or a few moments that were really, really special to you in terms of your work.
In terms of my work, well, one of the things is definitely in the 90s you had a life. I feel bad for people who've started now because you have to work so hard and you've got to be. I've never been a fan of the email coming out of a desktop onto a phone. I mean, the email should have just stuck there. So imagine you pack up your work, whether you pack up 5, 6, 7, but you go home till you come and switch on your machine, you don't know what's happening. Now the problem is you wake up and you can choose to look at an email at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, your mind starts working. That's not something which is good for humans. I really believe the TV should have never left the drawing room and come to the bedroom. I truly believe that the email shouldn't have come into your phones. So I think I feel with a younger lot who are starting now, it's a lot of pressure. And to be on Instagram, to be everywhere. The word FOMO didn't exist in the 90s, right? So you went home, you switched, you didn't even have to switch off your phone, you barely had a phone.
Right.
I mean, of course, late 90s, your cell phone started, but cell phone was very expensive.
True.
I mean, I haven't used a pager for a while, right? And so I think it is a good life. And that's something I think I like the slower pace of life than today's pace of life.
But also, I mean, don't you think that the world has become more demanding? Lives have changed.
Yeah.
So,
But thing is, the human mind, human race hasn't changed at the speed at which this change is happening. So uh, it will show, and which is showing on people's mental health, anxiety, right? Not being satisfied in life, marriage is not working, right? Unhappiness. What's the point of all this? If you're going to be miserable, you're going to be unhappy, you're going to be, you have to look a certain way, you starve yourself. And there were lesser things to eat, but you ate. There are too many things to eat and you can't eat.
I can so much relate to it. But because for me, and what you're telling, it's happening. I mean, and this happens every day. But also the FOMO, what you talk about, right? That of being left behind.
Yeah.
So that keeps pushing, and also the world has become demanding. I mean, if you don't do it, there's someone else ready to do it. So that fear is something that you cannot do anything about.
But the beauty is, nobody's going to remember you or me after 10, 20, 30, 40 years anyways. So why waste it over people thinking that you will be remembered? I don't document much of my work, don't put it out there. I'm like, कौन याद करेगा सुप्रजा राव को थोड़े साल बाद? I live my life. Why should I bother? It's not a good thing. कोई नहीं याद करेगा. मैं महात्मा गांधी जैसे काम तो नहीं कर रही, ठीक है? But you have to do at that level for people to remember.
एक अमिताभ बच्चन का गाना याद आ गया, क्यों कोई मुझे याद करे, क्यों वक्त अपना बर्बाद करे, बदन
पल दो पल का शायर.
मैं पल दो पल का शायर, यस. बट वो कहीं ना कहीं गाने में सही लगता है, बट क्या वो प्रैक्टिकलिटी में पॉसिबल है?
Of course, there's so many people who who are not sitting in this chair. You know what? I loved when I read somewhere. You know who are the people who are changing the world, who are saving the world, saving the planet, who are doing nothing. You know, people who are doing something are the ones who are damaging the planet. जो नहीं कर रहे हैं, they are the
वो
best.
कमाल कर
हाँ, मतलब वो they're not destroying, they're not consuming, ना जो business कर रहे हैं, ना जॉब कर रहे हैं, ऐसे ही खाली बैठे हैं वो। आए गए, किसी को फर्क पता, अर्थ को भी पता ही नहीं चला। और ऐसे लोग हैं जो इतना कर रहे हैं that सबको पता चला, अर्थ को भी पता चला कि भी तुम आए थे।
I mean, आज आप यहाँ बैठे हो, आप ये बात मतलब बोल सकते हो।
I know this because my daughter always says this. Ma, it's very easy to you because you've done that. I said, yeah, but at least having been there, done there, I am not saying that this is the right way to do it, it's the only way. You can have a quieter, peaceful, happy life. It's a choice you make. So I'm not saying working is good or working is not good. In fact, this is my advice to women. ये women working career equality के इसमें don't take it as something just to do to society. It has to be in your personality. If it's in you to work and have a career, you can multitask, go ahead and do it. But don't kill yourself. Don't beat yourself. In fact, ये week मेरा Instagram story भी एक मैंने डाला था. I don't know आपने देखा वो दीपिका पादुकोण वाला डायलॉग किया. तो in that I wrote, you do whatever you can, but don't beat yourself.
Yes.
Like I do a lot of things. Sometimes I beat myself up also, but it's if you're an adrenaline junkie and you like and you get a high on it, go ahead. But if you're going to be miserable after doing 4 flights, then do 2 flights. You know, if you're going to be miserable after doing 4 events and this, don't do. The point is you're doing all this to feel good and enjoy.
अब ये चीज हो गई कि मतलब ये आदमी तभी रियलाइज करता है तब यहाँ के इस कुर्सी पे आके बैठता है। इस कुर्सी पे लगता है कि यार बहुत काम करना है।
That is true. That's because it's made to look. So it's important people who've done something don't just say that doing something is the only way to live life.
True.
I think the more people say this and give people if you are happy, like if you're happy being home, even if you're very well educated, you've done things, don't feel guilty that I have, somewhere I read in a movie or heard, or मैंने भी तब सोचा था that if a woman takes up a seat for an MBBS doctor and she does practice, you took up someone's seat to be doctor. You have a right to learn. You have the right to education. You were smart. You got your seat. You educated. What you do with the education is your choice. As a well-educated woman, you can raise your children well. You can teach them great values. You can teach them great knowledge. It doesn't mean that you have to practice law because you're a lawyer. You have to, it's a choice. And I think women must have the choice to do. And they can choose to work for part-time, full-time, 5 years, 10 years, rest of your life. Never know. It's a choice. I don't want women to take up a career just because it's a norm of the day. Or women have to have a career. Not everybody's personality. Even same thing goes with men. You don't want to work, you shouldn't be. This whole thing that the man has to be the bread earning, the women has to be this. I think these rules have become too rigid. While it started as a simple, what I call division of labor. Adam and Eve, they say, go back and track. Everything has become too rigid. And people have taken life too seriously.
Also, I mean, women and men both need to understand that homemaker also is a role.
Of course.
And it's a very tedious, it takes a lot of hard work and pain to, do that as well.
I think I said this to you the other day that my father always said that raising a good child, making a good citizen of your child is a gift you give to your country. So
True.
It takes both parents to do that. And right now the responsibility is more on the woman, which is fine.
Right.
You've taken a great responsibility. You're raising your kids well. You're making sure that you teach them values because that's how the good citizens will show up.
100%.
Yeah. So that's a huge job. And it's a thankless job. It's a 24/7 job. And
Yes.
kids snap at moms. Let me tell you that. Yeah. Kids don't snap at dads.
Yes.
Kids pick up on moms. After all that you've done, mom को ही सुनना पड़ता है.
क्योंकि शायद माँ
I think the nature of relationship. Yeah.
Exactly.
I've done that to my mother. My daughter does that to me. It's just I think the relationship.
And also because वो डैड का एक खड़ूस वाला एक इमेज बनाया हुआ होता है कि you cannot talk to your dad.
But yes, too much. At least in Indian parenting, father is a lot more respect and mom is your friend.
The bad cop The father is a bad cop, basically. I
The
mean,
mother becomes a bad cop eventually.
but then, I mean, when your daughter is growing up, right? So you and your husband, so how are your roles divided in terms of
My
parenting?
husband's too kind, so I had to be the tough one. My husband would scold her. Like he would say, "No, I can't see tears in her eyes." So my husband just, I had to do both.
The daughter-father
Yeah, it's
question.
beautiful, and he would never say anything like most fathers. But some fathers are strict. My husband's not even strict.
Wow, nice. Ma'am, so you believe that being a good designer is not enough. One must also be a good manager. What leadership lessons have you learned over these years?
I think from the time I started, also now, so design is a very individual process. So you start doing a lot yourself and you delegate less. And I think that's the only change I would want to see more, where it's a lot more teamwork, which is happening, right? Practices can become partnership firms, associates, like you see law, you see so many other professions where it's a group of people, a chartered accountant, it's a group of people, and they make a strong practice, good practice. I wish that kind of a thing happens in architecture and design. Too many people are just wanting to start their own practice. People don't see the merit in being with an organization and becoming a part of it, because otherwise it's like someone starts and the next person starts. So a lot of knowledge which is getting wasted when people start from scratch. I wish that this kind of knowledge doesn't get wasted. Like for me, that's the only important thing about my career is there should be knowledge transfer. I've had so many lessons, so much learning. Because there's nobody taking on my practice after me, right? So
Right.
I hope to in the next 5 years, 10 years, build a team which can take, and not for my name. It's just that the knowledge shouldn't get thrown away.
Wow. And also, but I don't know, for the last few years, because too much of exposure to internet and stuff, people think starting actually has become easy, but they don't understand the pain behind it. They don't understand to probably make it through. It's not that one person can do it. It's always a team effort. So if you're part of a team, you have your own share of success because you come with your own skill set. You have your own USPs that you can probably work on and probably be better on that instead of again starting from the scratch. A lot of people fail to understand this, and that's the reason probably everyone feels that starting off something is just
Also, I think it's a very Indian thing to be an entrepreneur. You wouldn't see this so much in the West. There is a lot of importance to working for a long time and having experience to be an entrepreneur. In India, you work 1, 2 years also you're ready to start a business. Whether it's a chai shop or whether it's a startup, at every level, people become entrepreneurs,
no wonder.
which is a good thing and a bad thing both.
But no
I
wonder.
don't think we need so much entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
Every profession.
What I feel again,
The number of cafes, number of restaurants, number of boutiques, number of everything.
and that's probably one reason why we see out of every 100 business starts 98 shuts down before the fifth year. They only had hardly one or two business that even exist after 5 years because there's a lot that goes in a business, and that's okay not to know everything, and that's okay not to be part of everything. You probably can do your own bit and probably flourish in that as well.
No, also I think so. One thing stayed with me. I don't know, 8, 9 years ago when we completed 25 years and we renovated the office, and end of the year, that calendar year, we had a party and I was calling and inviting some more clients, and he was like, "What, you've been in 25 years, one profession?" He's also worked for those many years or more, but he had multiple businesses. Because you start something, doesn't work, then you do something else and you change. So
Yes.
I've consistently now done this for 34 years. I've started an art gallery back in the 90s. I started my art gallery, first gallery also in 91. The same year. So I
Wow.
started design, I got married in a gallery. Everything happened the same year. March, July, November. I was ahead of time. I was the first private art gallery in Hyderabad. There was no private galleries in Hyderabad when I started. There was only the Maximum Bhavan, the Alone Francis, and CCMB, doing shows. And I was ahead of time. Market was immature. I was young, so I shut the gallery in a couple of years organically. And I never thought I'd come back to the gallery business. But again, 2016 started curation, and I was like, I'm only going to curate. I'm not going to run a gallery. And 2019 we had the first gallery. 2021 we had this gallery. Now we have full-on e-commerce.
Wow, beautiful.
So now I run two businesses.
Right.
which is a
Yes.
handful, yeah, which is quite.
Beautiful. One trend, one design trend that you love, and one design trend that you wish to change.
The design trend of doing just a lot of paneling on walls, whether it's stone, whether it's wood, whether it is. I like the simple approach of just leaving some simpler walls, painted walls. That's the paneling trend is something I don't like for homes for sure. And one trend I like, I love the new trend of adding greenery and just a lot of openness and connecting indoors, outdoors. Post pandemic, the importance of outdoor, indoor has changed drastically, and I love that.
So, where do you get your design inspiration?
So my design inspiration comes from one, the brief I get from a client, the context. So when someone says like, "This is what I want from my family. This is the age group. This is," that becomes the inspiration to put the whole story together. What they want, what their journey has been, where they are. So for me, what's very important is where people are there in their life. Having, I mean, now I'm in my 50s, so whether they're in their 30s, 40s, what is children age, what's the changes they'll go through, that sort of inspires me in saying, okay, I think in the next 10 years, this is what will happen in their house. Yeah, the kids will go to college, they'll get married, there's going to so much in this house.
Wow.
Or if I see people whose kids are married and doing, okay, this house needs to help them slow down. They're going to spend a lot of quality time with each other. This is where they'll celebrate their grandchildren. My thought is different.
But most of the times, I mean, I don't know, I mean, if you agree to this, but most of the clients come, they do not know what they exactly want. They're confused because they've seen so much of stuff.
So I'm not talking about a design brief if you tell me color scheme, materials, or even the style. I'm in fact okay if you don't even tell me the style. You give a brief about your life, what you've been to, what you're doing, where you come from, all that. And believe it or not, based on where people are, what their exposure has been, there's a huge chance of you getting right on what their aesthetic will be. If you're born in Karimnagar, lived all their life, it's different. You're born in Ludhiana, lived all your life, it's different. You're born in, it is so easy to catch that.
Wow, so simple. I mean,
Because
when talking,
we work with clients who lived all over, traveled all over, educated. Then you know what their exposure has been,
right?
what your desires are, whether they're aspirational, they're real, they're simplicity, they're done up. It just comes from where you've been, what you've seen, whom you hang out with, what's your social circle, what shouldn't be saying that, what caste you are. Makes a difference. You see, in India, Sindhis have a different taste. Tamilians will have a different taste. Marwadis will have a different taste. Punjabis will have a different taste. Telugu people. That's why North India, actually South India, South side. Like the other day I was there, I was doing something. I selected marble for some client in Delhi. And the guy was showing us out. And I said, भैया हम South से हैं, हमको इतना busy पसंद नहीं है. जैसे ही बोल दिया ना, पकड़ लिया उसे. So like that, there is. So I think understanding that.
If you understand the lifestyle of your client, it's very easy for you to
understand their exposure, what they do, what profession they are.
True, beautiful. But
of course, I look at nature and other things, but you know what? I get inspired by what people tell me. I ask people to give me 3 adjectives what they'd like to say when they enter their house. So those adjectives I work backwards.
Wow, nice. But have you ever mentored a women designer, and what do you think? What is the importance of at least at this point in time when a lot of women come into this industry? Do you think mentorship and that support is required for the women designers?
So I mentor more than one person currently, but there is no structured format to mentor. And I wish there's a little more structure which comes where people. Ideally, I recommend that you make like now they say vision board or goals for about 5 years. If you live your life in modules of 5, it's easy. It's very hard to see more than that. Because for women, especially your family, your children, your career goals. And I think people, when they make career goals, they forget to make a lot of other goals. your other goals are very important. In fact, there was one women designer, and I told her, and I'd given her different top headings to make goals, and she said, career should just go on and on, but a lot of others she couldn't. I said, no, you have to have your relationship goals. You have to have, you stop at 1 2 points, with your husband. What's the kind of relationship? But you don't know how to set goals for those, because society is not even telling you that. With your parents, financially, so many other things, your own self well-being, your exercise, your physical, like I'd made a lot of headings and given in. And yeah, it's important to set
Strike a
goals
balance.
and yeah.
Nice. So you have won many prestigious awards, likes of the Mahavishnu Pushkara and multiple Triple ID awards. So how is your first award? So how has the feeling been? And now I'm sure those awards, I mean, you have them coming. But your first award, how was the feeling about it?
Actually, I can't remember what my first award was, but yes, in 20s, 30s, awards meant a big deal. But very early on in my life, when I won at one incident, I had won 4 awards. And the next day, I had a pressure cooker burst off in my face, and I had a second-degree burn here. After I really don't participate in awards or too much, so we haven't collected a whole lot of awards. After that, I think once or twice people in the team wanted to. I said, you apply, you go if you get an award, and people then in the office. But as an office, we don't have like a whole division which is busy participating awards. While the number of choices awards are very high now, you can
True.
keep participating in a lot more competitions now, nationally, internationally. So मुझे जो बुला के award दे देता है ले लेती हूँ, मैं खुद मेहनत नहीं करती.
All right. Little bit fun. So there'll be a few lighthearted questions that I wanted to ask you.
Go ahead.
So the most bizarre or unexpected client request you have ever received?
Oops. Oh, I can't remember like this. When I remember, I'll tell you.
Sure. So if you could redesign any famous landmark, which one would that be?
Landmark.
A landmark, a celebrity house, or something else, a monument.
I never thought of it, I don't desire मुझे ये करना है वो करना है ऐसे, but I can say that there's a project we designed which never saw the light of the day. That's the one project that every now and then think. There are 2 projects like that, 2, 3, but 2 which come to my mind and say I wish I had designed. One was, it was like a hall of fame for Dr. Abdul Kalam. When Dr. Abdul Kalam was heading the whole DRDO, he was a DRDO or something. I remember doing this project for this DRDO through someone, and we'd done presentations, and we'd done like we had created a whole temple architecture because he was born near Rameshwaram. And then we had done one room which was his awards, and then we had done an auditorium, and it all. And I did this also probably in my early 30s or something. I don't even have any paperwork on that because it was. That's one I wish we'd seen, the project had seen the light of day. And another project, again, more than 20 years back, we had designed for in Hyderabad, in a 5-star hotel restaurant, and the clients had given us a brief for a Indian restaurant. And I will tell you which year this was. This would be between 2000 and 2004, more like 2001 to 2002. So we had designed a restaurant that in the restaurant, the kitchen, the service staff comes. That's sort of like a 4 feet or 5 feet wide, higher than the floor level, like a ramp. And we set the Indian food. The waiters are wearing Indian clothes of different region. And every day there can be region set from Rajasthan, from South. So it was an Indian restaurant. But we said we mixed food and fashion. And we said they bring food in a certain aesthetic. And we named the restaurant Katputli. And we had made life-size, larger-than-life Katputli size. And we did a lot of research and came across really good Katputli design. And that's a project I wish I can still do it someday. But we combined food, fashion more than 20 years back and made a design.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
In a bunch of my projects, we give names also. We come up with the name for the restaurant, for a gated community we've done, for a hotel we've done.
Wow.
We're so involved from every detail, from the uniform to the plate, the glass.
Nice. But let's say if you have 24 hours to redesign your house, so what's the first thing that will change in your own house?
In my house, I'm probably just going to move around some furniture, move around some art, add some plants. I think I would definitely move around art objects. I'm a big one for styling, and I think I can change the place way a place looks um, in 24 hours. I can do that also.
Okay. So the most challenging yet fulfilling project you ever worked on?
Ooh, so hard to know. There must be so many.
One if you would recollect.
I think fulfilling would be, I mean, a lot of projects, but I think my own house, because I use the space. And when I sit there and I look at this space and I know what that space is doing to me emotionally, it's helping me relax, helping me unwind. So it's quite fulfilling that I could create that for myself to be able to relax, for myself, for my family, for my friends. Because I see the space and I use. Same thing with my office, my gallery. You know, when actually I could also say the gallery. Anybody who walks in loves the space. So it's
Yes.
really nice because in other spaces you get a compliment on and off. Unless
Right.
you're doing restaurants and you keep getting, but when you do homes, you don't get to really engage with that once you're done.
True.
But something which you've done for yourself. I think that way, I think the maximum number of visitors who see and appreciate is the gallery.
Beautiful.
It's a small one, but still it's. And if you'd seen what this place looked like, that's even more surprising.
Wow. So a quick rapid fire round, ma'am. So one word.
So your fun thing didn't seem as much fun.
No, I have a few more. I want to take that liberty to them, if I
Go
can.
ahead, go ahead.
So one word that describes your design style.
Eclectic.
Okay. A material or texture you love working with.
Wood.
Wood. Okay. A woman leader who inspires you.
Michelle Obama.
Okay. A mantra you live by.
No regrets.
A dream collaboration.
You don't prepare for these. So there's so many people like collab, whether it's design, whether it's. I like how Winfrey Oprah has turned around her life. And I'd love to do something with a woman of that. I
Okay.
love how Sudha Murthy lives her life. I
Okay.
mean, if I get an opportunity to do something with her, that would be.
Beautiful. So, ma'am, one fashion trend forever, what would it be? If there's one fashion trend that you think should be forever.
I mean, Indian saris, I really hope they never go out of fashion.
Okay. What's the weirdest thing you have ever carried in your handbag?
I mean, I've carried a pair of shoes also in my handbag.
So, coming to shoes, who will win a fight, sneakers or sandals?
I'm very feminine, sandals and heels.
Okay. So, what's one secret power, superpower of yours that no one knows about?
I don't think many people know how fearless I am.
I'm not sure if that's right. People know it by now, I guess.
Yeah. I don't think people know how fearless I am. When I say fearless, I mean, I have to be reminded that I have to be scared.
Oh wow. Okay. If you were a Bollywood character, who would it be?
Bollywood character or an actor?
Actor, character, anything.
So so my desire to wanting to do things in life, there's just no limit, I feel sometimes. Like one of my things is like I'd love to act in a movie. And I'm really fond of Smita Patil or Shabana Azmi. Like I'd
Oh, wow.
love to do one of those character roles. I mean, still date, I haven't given up that I will act in a movie. I would love to fly a plane. It used to be like, even in my 20s, 30s, I would like, I have to fit in some way a course to do a PPL, if not a CPL, but nothing happened. Yeah. So
Good.
that way, in one of your questions, I couldn't get answers, but these are things like nobody knows. I would love to fly a plane.
Beautiful. What's the funniest excuse you have given to avoid a workout?
So I was never a very workout person growing up. I was very creative and also. Ask me another question.
If you could rename Monday, what it would be?
Well, firstly, I wouldn't do even 5 days working. It's a choice humans made, right? So I've been saying for a while that humans could have chosen to work 4 days a week. And now with Japan implementing it, UK implementing it in some companies, I'm thrilled that 4-day week is going to be a reality. It's our choice. Who told us
True.
to work 8 hours? Who told us to? Humans did all this. No?
Right. Okay. So what's one talent you wish you had but you totally don't?
Oh, I can't write well for nuts. I wish I could write better, or I can't read. Reading a book is like a sleeping pill. I just wish, because I want to kind of get the knowledge, and I keep thinking I should get used to all these e-books, and I
Yeah.
haven't even got that. I don't have.
The audiobooks and all that.
Yeah, I don't have the patience.
Okay. So if coffee could talk, what would it tell you every morning?
It would probably tell me to just get up and not depend on coffee for the adrenaline.
All right. Would you rather fight one giant cockroach or 100 lizards?
Oops. One what cockroach?
One cockroach, one giant cockroach,
Yeah.
or 100 tiny lizards?
One giant cockroach.
Okay. So if you had a personal warning label, what would it say?
Personal?
Warning label.
Warning label or don't mess with me. मैं हिंदी में बोलती हूँ. I don't know how to say. One thing is, actually more than that is like, don't threaten me. Because I don't get threatened. मैं तेलुगु में बोल सकती हूँ. बेदरिस्ते बेदिरिपोनु रेचिपोताने.
Oh my
So
god.
usually I tell people don't bother threatening me because that's going to work out. That's going to turn out very bad.
Wow.
You can tell me, but don't ever threaten me.
Beautiful. What's the most useless advice that you've ever received?
Oh, how to run my business? How to do design?
You'd probably call them now.
No, I don't. I mean, I can give them advice. I can advise a pilot how to fly, right? People are giving advice, in
True.
airports. People are giving. ऐसे करना
True,
है.
true, true, true.
But the
true.
most joke people crack about is everybody giving advice to cricketers how they should play.
They should play cricket. True, true, true. 100%. So if you were stuck in an elevator with your celebrity crush, what's the first thing you'd say?
I mean, I'm like fond of Amitabh Bachchan. If I'm stuck with him in an elevator, I'd probably ask him to tell one of his dialogues. Like, I've watched Kabhi Kabhi endless number of times, and I can go dialogue with Amitabh Bachchan.
Wow.
Like that, Ye Pal Do Pal Ka.
Yes, yes,
When he
yes.
comes out of the song, Rakhi goes to him for an autograph.
Yes.
And that dialogue, I can say every line Rakhi will say, he will say. Pooja, like when he asked to autograph and he's aapka naam kya hai? Something like that. I can do that, yeah.
Nice. All right. So what's the most dramatic thing you ever had on a bad hair day?
Most dramatic.
Curly, I know, difficult to manage.
I get headaches, but there's nothing dramatic about it. I can't think of anything dramatic in my hair. I have lots of stories, but not this one.
So let's say if your life had a theme song, what that should be?
I love that song, Hum Honge Kamyab.
Beautiful.
Because I don't believe in giving up anyways.
True. If you could eat one dessert for the rest of your life,
Ooh,
what would that be?
I like variety. I don't think there's one thing I can eat all my life, but I do love kulfi.
Okay. So again, I think we are done. 2-3 और लूँ मैं और हाँ 3-4 more. Would you rather design a skyscraper in one night or a tree house with no budget?
Treehouse. Anyway.
Okay. What's the funniest reason you have heard for rejecting a design?
Samajh mein nahi aaya. And I genuinely thought Samajh mein nahi aaya means didn't understand. And I didn't realize that's a Marwadi way of saying I don't like it. I remember a client telling me Samajh mein nahi aaya, and I kept explaining to him. Genuinely. Marwadi बोलते हैं समझ में नहीं आया. समझ नहीं आया का मतलब होता है कि पसंद नहीं है. बट मुझे नहीं पता था समझ नहीं आया क्या वो मतलब होता है. So I genuinely मैं explain करते ही कमर समझ नहीं आया. फिर explain किया.
Okay. So let's say if you had to explain architecture using a Bollywood dialogue, what would that be?
No, I can't remember any dialogue.
And if you had to build a dream house anywhere in the world, where would that be?
By the ocean.
Okay. What's the weirdest material you have used to build a house?
I don't think I've used any unconventional or weird materials.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
very boring that way.
If your buildings could talk, the buildings that you have designed could talk, what would they say to you?
Um, have a beautiful life.
Okay. What's more stressful, site visits or family weddings?
No, both can be fun. Some site visits can be stressful. Some family weddings can be, but I don't think generic I would say, because I mean I love my site visits, and family weddings can be really fun.
Beautiful. But so I'm done with these questions. If there's something specific that you want to you want our audience to know, or you want probably to share with the audience, if there's something that I can pick up.
That I'm born on Women's Day.
I know that. I mean, so
And
this is a surprise. This we're not telling.
अच्छा
So we were. I mean, so हम ये आपका जो भी आपका first reel रहेगा हम वो 8th
हाँ
of
तो
March.
I can say that line for you.
Yes.
So I am born on 8th March, and I got to know this very early on when I was barely 10, 12 years old, that 8th March is Women's Day, because my father gifted me a diary, and that diary on 8th March is Women's International Day. And after that, every year I was aware, and nothing ever happened in India. It was only in early 2000 that I threw the first party of Women's Day lunch and invited people. Didn't know it was a Women's Day, even in early 2000s. And then after that, for a series of, for a number of years, I hosted these Women's Day lunches. So even though it was my birthday, I never told people it's my birthday, come for lunch, and I invited to celebrate Women's Day. The first Women's Day party I ever had, I actually spoke about it and explained why is Women's Day celebrated. You know,
If you could share the same here as well, ma'am, please.
so in Europe, I don't remember the year in my head, but I would think not too far away, less than even 100 years ago, women didn't have the right to vote, women didn't have the right to education. That way in India, I think we are blessed that from the day we've been independent India, women have had the right to vote, right to education. We never had to fight for that. But women in Europe started fighting for those rights. And on, I think, every February sometime end, they picked up a date and they would celebrate. Then they moved it to first Sunday of March. And then after that, they settled on 8th March. And I always joke and say, I think it was the year I was born, but it was much earlier than that Women's Day was. So women actually fought for basic rights. Like in Saudi Arabia, in front of our eyes, women couldn't get a driving license.
True.
Right? So that way, I think India has been so progressive. We've had a women prime minister, a women president, so many women chief ministers. I mean, look at some developing countries like America, for example. They've never had a women president.
True.
It speaks a lot about the country. So as much as you can say that in India, women have to fight for rights and all, in a larger picture, I think in India, women do have a lot of opportunities.
I get a different perspective.
So much labor at his side is working women. So many labor who cleaning the roads are women. So which means at the lowest class, if you see where there's no education, women work shoulder to shoulder with the men. Of course, they're paid lesser. That's a separate story. But they work.
True.
At so many. In fact, it's the more higher you go in the wealth, women are not working.
True.
They're working from lower to middle class.
Right.
Or unless you've inherited a business. You see, then the gap actually comes at a space. It doesn't come in the lower
Space. Agree. And how
but it also comes from a financial need. But still,
Yes.
the man is not saying, okay, whatever I make, we'll live. Two people are working shoulder to shoulder.
True.
And I appreciate women working. Every work, dignity of labor.
True. And how ironical, England again having Queen as a supreme power, and women in their own country were not having rights to vote and education.
Whole of Europe.
Exactly.
I remember Albert Einstein's wife, when she was studying, she was the only woman in college. And the professor, I've seen the documentary, and I think he told her that she can never be a scientist. Or like there were only men. She's Albert Einstein's wife also is a scientist.
True,
was
yes.
a scientist. But she never got any recognition. She never got it. But in her college also, she had to change colleges, and she was told that she will never be able to do anything in life. And that's not very far away.
Right. Yes.
It's not like this was
1,000 years. Yes.
I mean, we're talking under 100 years.
100. Yes. Definitely. Yes. I mean, talking to you, I also somewhere realized that we are blessed to be part of a country, India, where women have equal opportunities. And as you said, women prime minister to women president. We have had fighter pilots who have been women. We have women in the army. We have women everywhere where you see. And I somewhere also believe that Women's Day, again, it's okay, I mean, to celebrate a day for them, but every single day should be
Of course,
celebrated.
of course. I think anything you celebrate as a day doesn't mean you don't do it rest of the days.
Exactly.
People like that's like a joke. But yeah, on a day, it's just appreciation, a representation. You come out and you celebrate and see. You
True.
Celebrate your existence. I mean, men are welcome to celebrate their day. But but when you look back and see, you're grateful. Like I'm very grateful that there are very few women architects in the city or designers who cleared the path, or career women who cleared the path, because working in the 90s for women to have a career was still lesser known.
True.
But people like me who worked and cleared the path for another generation.
100%.
And now the next generation is doing it. And sometime it will become just normally cool. It's a choice you make, right? Whether you want to eat idli or roti. Choice. Work karna hai, nahi karna hai, kya.
But then also becomes a very difficult. One generation. I mean, if they put their effort, if they put their heart, blood, and soul to make things happen, it becomes easy for the
Of
coming
course,
generations
yes.
to take
you
that
should
path.
appreciate it. And I definitely, in my generation, working, having a career, all that was like, oh, she's working, and working women are still looked a little different than not working. Like
True.
you're smarter, you're sharper, But it's a choice. You honed your skill, your knowledge in that direction. If I chose not to, I could have. So it's a choice I made. It doesn't make me, in a sense, superior. Everybody has it in them. It's a choice. I mean, you get up and train every day, then you become a cricketer. You get up and train every day, you become a musician. You get up and train. It's training, consistency in any profession you choose. But you have to be consistent. You have to constantly. That's the only way which will take you far in life.
But if not for the choices you had made, probably the industry would not be so welcoming today for the women, at least.
And
So
I hope so. I hope I've made a positive difference, and I hope I've motivated a lot of people to get up and follow their passion, their dream, and pursue it. And don't give up. That's all I say.
I'm sure you definitely have actually inspired a lot of people. And after this, probably there'll be more, designers coming in, looking at you and looking at your journey. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people, who aspire to, be, if not the next Supraja. Supraja probably can be only one, but at least somewhere, where they could also make an impact in this industry going forward.
If I can do that and inspire people, I'll be very happy.
Any specific thing that you want to address?
I'll say a few things when I remember. I think there's a lot of copy paste which happens.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm not talking about a profession. I'm just talking in life. Following a set rule and thinking this is how you're supposed to lead your life. This is what you're supposed to buy. This is what you're supposed to be there. This is what you're supposed to be. I wish that women start thinking for themselves and not going by what is being told by somebody, what is being said, and then just copy paste them in your life, irrespective of your personality, irrespective of your context, right? So where you are, what you're doing, you think for yourself and saying, does it make sense for you to do this? Does it make sense for you? Like I really have a problem in how, अंग्रेज सूट वूट पहनते थे भी उनके वेदर में पहनते थे आप क्यों अभी भी ये रगड़ रहे हो I really have a problem when somebody walks into my office, because that company rules are that people are all suited booted. I mean, come on, it's April. Can't you think for yourself? So I'm saying such basics also copy paste itna hota hai because they're around us all the time, and I've been a big one for handlooms most of my life. I moved to synthetic the first time ever when our daughter was very young, and I would wear these nice cotton starch clothes, and she'd sit with me and I'd be totally crushed. And I said, that's the time I actually bought synthetics the first time, because it was in that context I needed that.
I always believe
So I
this.
just believe that people should stop looking outward, westward, so much that you're so influenced. Like I always joke and say that we put solutions for problems which don't even exist.
True.
You want a motorized gate. Why? When you're watchman, the clients who put motorized gate, the ones who have watchman. You know what I mean?
I get it.
So we're just copy pasting things.
Right.
Think about it. It's required because it snows there. You can't get off a car, open the gate, open the garage, your garage gate, because your car comes, your garage, it's snowing.
True.
You can't get off and operate and then,
Yeah.
so they're the context based.
So I think a
In
lot of
design.
things have changed. I mean, I would take this liberty to tell this, but there's a lot of things have changed post the Britishers have left or during their reign because they somewhere trained us to probably act in a certain way. If you look at India before that, every region, I mean, if you talk from north to south, we have, I mean, every state have their own
India
individuality.
pre-colonization and post, there is no recognition because the colonization also was 200 years.
Yes.
It's a very long time that people, in 3 generations, people forgot what India was.
And we were only told what the last set of generation could tell us.
Correct.
We do not know what actually it was.
Because honestly, whenever I heard that in Bharat Soni ki chidiya thi, I'm like, really? I don't believe it.
Agreed.
But now I'm getting to believe it, yes.
True.
We had the resources, we had the,
And we were practical. No? When I see, I reign from Rajasthan, so when I see people still wearing that safa on their head, and that makes sense because Rajasthan being it's space where it's way too hot, so they wear it not for the fashion, but it is functional,
yeah.
right? So we were already there, but I think a lot of things have been disturbed in the history.
So I feel now we lose context, like in architectural design, we talk a lot of context. I think just in our human lives, context is very important, and I think there's a lot of it which is not followed.
But I think it'll slowly come back to life because when there's no context, there's a discomfort. Right? I mean, let's say if I'm doing something, if I'm wearing a blazer, right, and I feel it's hot, and it's hot over a period of time.
No, then you just use more and more AC.
Wow.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. True. I agree to it. But I mean, if you start using our brains a little better, and if you understand that there's a situation causing discomfort, instead of being in a situation, understanding the situation, coming out of it is better than probably creating another layer. Probably an AC to just to get used to that situation. Difficult, but with
that company laws are there. I don't want to name companies in India in our profession which have suit boot as a rule.
Oh wow! Still, even today, wonderful. All right, so we
Yes.
Or
Thank you
anything-
so much for
That-
doing this, and I really enjoyed myself. And
We'd like to thank you so much, ma'am, for
Good luck.
having on the show.
Best.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who get inspired and who look forward to having dreams and future in this industry now. Thank you so much.
Women's Day. Happy Women's Day to all the women out there. And like I said, ghungat or burqa, nothing can prevent you from dreaming. Go ahead, dream and live your life.